Oh, hey everybody, welcome back to the No Cover TV podcast. Look who's in the house right next to me. Here's Paul Roland. Oh, yeah, he's across the pond. Oh, yeah, UK over there. Yeah, so we're going to have a great and interesting interview today with Paul. But I want to talk to you out there for a minute. Thank each and every one of you for checking out the No Cover TV podcast. All the audio shows that are on Spotify that are now on YouTube, and of course, all the video shows that we're doing that are on YouTube. Check them all out. Great stuff, great interviews. You never know what I get out of these artists because they do spill their guts, and it's cool to see what's going on with these artists. Definitely, it's just like back in the TV days when we did the TV show. Crazy stuff happened. I don't edit. That's what's great about the show. It's great. So check out all the future shows. We got a lot of great shows from artists all over the world, just like Paul here, and all genres and age group. It's amazing. These youngsters out there, and us old folks too. So shut up, people. Yes, indeed. So, I got to say a few things, and that would be, well, I'll save that one for the last because I got to catch my breath on that phrase that I'm going to do last. But I got to thank a lot of people, and I thank these people for bringing me the artists that they work with. It's been fun to interview their artists. And the people I'd like to thank is Sandra, of course, with Della Para Entertainment, Legion Entertainment, Zeus and Zeus Management, Capo Entertainment, Round the Clock PR, and SBM Global Media. I want to thank all of them and everybody out there. Come on the show. We've been doing this for, 30 years now, and it's about getting your music out there one way or another around the world. We will get it out there. Big Al will kick everybody. I will just get it out there politely. Anyway, so let me catch my breath. What am I going to say, people? Next, my three favorite words. Support these artists. Go to their shows, pay a cover charge if there is one, then get to that swag table. Get yourself a CD, an album, a t-shirt, a hoodie, a coffee mug, keychain, bumper sticker. It goes on. Then get to that stage and enjoy that show. Stay after if you can. Meet these wonderful artists. Get an autograph because they're all going straight to the top. You just never know. And remember, these artists are doing what they're doing to put a smile on your face. And your smile kicks right back to them. Put the big old grin and smile on the artist's face. It's an amazing thing. It is. And believe me, music makes the world go around. So let's get into our interview with Paul Roland. How you doing, brother? It's great to have you on.
Thank you very much. I'm just stunned to be invited, crossing the pond, as we used to call it, with a little phone that's about the size of a matchbox here. This is incredible technology. I'm an old dinosaur, old school, and this is just incredible. A new world for me.
Right, this computer technology is something else. So that's why we're a little late starting because of computer technology and stuff like that. But we made it work, didn't we, Paul?
We did. I've even found the art button on the keyboard and composed a whole, electronic album out of it. So, every day is a discovery with technology. Press the button and see what happens.
Boom! Yeah, you just don't know where it's going to take you. So, Paul, many of these folks out there know who you are and don't know who you are. You've been in the business a long, long time, and you've done amazing and interesting things with your music. I mean, you're a composer, singer, songwriter. You do it all, and your music it's even hard to call music. It's more of a storyboard with music composed behind it, I would say. So I want to get into that in just a second here, but before we get to the music, I need to find out more about you, Paul, and that means I got to get in that head of yours somehow, and I want to find some things out of you. Can I?
Okay.
All right. Now I won't be too cruel, but I gotta know some things, brother. All right, I got to take you way back in time. Let's see if our memories are good here. But I want to go back to around 8 years old, 10 years old. Now you're listening to what mom and dad are playing on the phonograph, 8-track, whatever they got. Maybe your siblings, if you have them. What are you catching on and listening to music-wise back those days?
Well, the first things I heard out in what we're talking about, the late 60s, were things like the first thing that sort of captured me was actually the soundtrack to The Alamo, the John Wayne film.
Really?
Was it called Leaves of Summer or something like that? It was called, and it was a very plaintive, melancholic, sad main theme, and that struck me, particularly when it allied to the images, which was the survivors of the Alamo coming out, which were all women and children, except for this one young guy they entrusted with their safety. So I think that went quite deep, That's a very powerful image. The film itself, is flawed, shall we say. But that was a powerful image. And with that music, I suppose it's a sense of loss, around that time or shortly after, I lost quite a lot of my family just through age and illness, and it was
Yeah, I love the
and
internet.
then
We'll make this work. Paul, internet's in and out a little bit. You still with me? Uh, Technical difficulty. He's here. He's there. Paul's not going anywhere. It's just a little slow. There he is. He's moving. You're still with me, Paul. I still see you. You're just a little slow right now. So we'll make this work. We'll make this work. We have technical difficulties. He's going to slap the computers. Come on, work. Hey, Paul. So, hey, I see you. You're working. I just say something, Paul. No, I don't hear you. No, I could probably read lips. We could do it that way, my friends. You don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. So I see you, Paul. It looks good. I see your forehead, but I don't hear you. I love this. There we go. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. He's trying. He's trying, folks. We'll try. We'll figure this out. You never know. I could do a two-step. No, I still can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Okay, you can hear me, but I can't hear you still. I can't hear you, my friend. What you could do is leave and then push the link and come back in if you want. That should reset it. Right. Well, I do a tap dance while he does that. Yeah, we can do this. Woo! All right. Yeah, yeah, we can do this, Paul. We'll make this work. I still don't hear you. No. And no mutes. Let's see. Nothing's going on my end. Everything looking good. Oh, well, you never know. Hell happens to the best of us, folks. We'll see what's going on. Yeah, just I want you. Uh, hmm. All right. Maybe are you leaving, Paul? I don't know. You just froze up on me. No. Let's see. Still there. I can see you. I just don't hear you. Gotta love live entertainment. All right. Let's see here. All right. Let's see what I can do here. Mute. Nope, that won't work. So just mute 'em. So, all right, Paul. You for some reason your mic's not working, so you're going to have to leave and come back in. You just close down the program and reopen it. Okay. Just come back in if you can hear me. We're going to figure it out. Oh my goodness. Oh my, let's try this. There he goes. Okay. Now it's just me. Now, what would you folks like to talk about? Huh? Anyways, I want to thank all of you out there watching the No Cover TV podcast. We have some great and interesting artists all around the world, and it's been fantastic. And I want to thank all of you for coming on the show for all the years. I wish I could list all the hundreds of bands that were on the TV show. And we're on 250, almost 60 podcast shows. So that's wonderful. And it's all because of you people out there and getting your music out there. It's got to be done. So let's push it out there as fast and as hard as we can. And Paul should be joining us shortly. And Paul is one amazing artist. We're going to get, so don't go too far because we'll make this work because it's going to be an interesting interview. Unfortunately, his computer's not working, so he's using a cell phone. He's in England, so maybe that just sums it up right there with the internet and stuff like that. Yeah. So, anyways, folks, like I say, you want to come on the show? I am actually going to be taking April off and possibly May off. So, we get a little break, and then we get back right into it and get all you back out there and stuff like that. And also ISSA, I'm nominated for a couple of spots there for the podcast of the year radio station they want to call it and sound engineer. So appreciate if you throw me a vote starting in April. You never know what happens. It's not about the awards or whatever. There's one right up there or a pat on the back. I do this because I love what I do. That's why it's called No Cover TV. Does it cost you a dime or anybody? Let's get do the right thing. Let's get the music out there. All right, Paul, where are you? I'm running out of breath here. Come on, buddy. We can do this. Come on. Go. So anybody want to sing or do a tap dance for me? Come on. Come on, I dare you. Well, I see behind me my guitar's upstairs, so I can't play a song. That ain't gonna work. Well, let's see. I see a couple of you up there watching. Ask me some questions. Let's truth or dare. Oh, no, truth or dares. Not at all. So let's see here. Where are you, buddy? Okay, you should be going around and around. I can only do this for so long before I'm going to collapse. I need a drink. Hey, here's one right here. It's a very hyper label. Did a good job with that, obviously. Oh, well, gonna get sued now. Damn. So, what we can talk next? What is, all right, 1980s. Okay, you're watching me right now. What was your favorite rock group back in the 80s? Uh huh. I want to know favorite guitar player, drummer, singer, bass player. There you. Come on. What do you got for me? What do you got? Come on, let's see what you got, huh? Oh, here he is. Oh,
Yeah.
I can.
Yay!
Hey, I
We're
can
back
hear
again.
you. I told everybody you'd be back. Yes, thank you,
You can
Paul.
hear me as well.
Yes,
Back from the dead.
back from the dead. We're doing this.
So
The
you can hear
yes
me and
people.
see me, right?
I can see you. I can hear you. Everything's
I'm going to
awesome.
speak really quickly before it all happens again, eh?
You will get it. We're done. All right. Thank you, Paul. We'll have a good one. No. All right. Well, Paul's back, everybody. So let's get into this, my friend. All right. We were talking back when you were younger and what you were listening to, and you were talking about it was the John Wayne movie, I think it was. And so now, what other music were you
Yeah.
clashing onto at an early age?
Well, I wasn't really into music at that time. I was more reading horror comics. You remember House
Huh?
of Mystery, Ghost, The Witching Hour, all that wonderful stuff, and writing little stories. That's what my thing was, words at the time and images.
Okay.
And only when I was about 14 we started playing pop group, if you like, with some friends whose older brother actually had real instruments, and
Oh.
so it was a game originally, um, and from the game I could hear this exciting potential, this infinite, limitless power of music. What could be done
Oh
with a
yeah.
few notes, a few chords? I mean, I couldn't play anything. I was banging around on some glass bottles covered with polythene and rubber bands,
Right.
to make it sound like little drums, like little bongos. But my friends could play a few chords. One of them was a bass player.
Okay.
Um, and out of this, I put this little poem together with these few chords, and we had our first song. And I think to them it was still a game, but to me it was just an amazing door opening. And then I saw this film, That'll Be the Day, and Stardust with David Essex. So we're talking about 73, 74, when I was
Right.
about 13, 14. And I thought, that's what I want to be, even though the poor bastard dies at the end,
Right.
takes drugs and dies in Spain. Um, having found that the rock and roll lifestyle is just more than he can take. But I
Yeah.
thought, no, that's for me. It wasn't a lifestyle; it was the music
It was
and
the
the
music
power of
for
the
it.
music.
Great.
So that's where I came from. I came from writing stories, from a love of words, images,
Okay.
and telling stories, as you said, really through music. But the trick, if you like, was how to tell them in 3 minutes, because
Yeah.
I wasn't
Right.
that into prog, and my studio musicians that I cobbled together through the local studio when I came to make my first album, The Werewolf of London, in 1980, were not virtuosos. In fact, I had a couple of friends who were, well, in fact, the drummer came with a bottle of what was it called, not vodka. And by the time we were ready to record the drums, the poor guy had fallen asleep. So we had to become this sort of post-punk band because the drummer was half zombie, and
Well,
we used the guitarist and singer to play the drums. So you can imagine it was very DIY, but
oh,
we took it to rough trade, And I actually met Jeff Travis. See, that's the thing when you're almost a kid. I mean, there's barely out of short trousers. You don't have these what's the sort of
Fear.
the anxiety about approaching these great people. At
Right.
the
You
time,
got
he was
no
just a
fear.
drummer,
Yeah.
and Peel as well, who I went to all personally. Yeah? And you hand them the album and you say, I made this myself. 3 days ago, here it is. Because in those days you could turn it around in weeks.
Yeah. Right.
And what do you think? And you don't think he's going to say no. Later, as an adult, you become very cynical. But at the time, you think, of course he's going to love my music. Why wouldn't he? I like it. My
Right.
mum likes it. Why wouldn't
And
he?
my mom
My
likes it.
dog likes it. So he said, "Oh, well, this isn't the kind." Jeff Travis, this isn't the kind of thing we would put out on Rough Trade, but you won't have any trouble selling 1,000. I remember that's what he said, and I knew
Right.
that was the key. That was the moment when I thought, this is no longer this children's game or dream. Somebody who knows what they're talking about says, "You're okay. Keep doing it."
Yeah. That definitely is
That was
inspirational to
it.
hear that from him. Oh, most definitely.
Mm.
So you're a big horror buff like I am and stuff, and so
Mm.
I can see where you're at in your head with a lot of the music, but when did it become more, I want to call it mechanical post punk, kind of doom a little bit there, but you add a lot of different things to it, and I got a list of names that I could go through here. But you go to Victorian Artesian, just steampunk, even Tartarian, and your songs, which are actually a storyboard, I would say, definitely that you put music to.
Well, I didn't set out to be in any one genre. I just wrote the songs on my acoustic guitar. I always wrote on the acoustic guitar because I felt that would pass the old grey whistle test, as we called it. If it
Yeah.
sounds good on an acoustic guitar, it's going to sound even better when you put instruments to it, as long as you put the right instruments and don't let them all go mad. But this is something I had to learn in the studio. You don't give everybody their head, because the keyboard player will play all the way through it, and the guitarist will do a solo from beginning to end.
Oh
So
yeah.
you have to have a certain innate sensibility, I think, as a producer, which is what I became pretty early on. I trusted my first self-made album, as I say, The Werewolf of London, in 1980,
Right.
to the studio owner, because he obviously knew his business and I didn't. But once I'd made that first album, I felt, well, I've seen what he does. Obviously, I can't press the right buttons. I'm not a technical person. I need an engineer. But as far as producing, I know what I want to hear. I know there's a soundtrack, if you like, of this movie, this mental movie in my head. And I don't want somebody else saying, well, I'm going to put 6 keyboards over that, or I'm going to put a
Right.
reggae rhythm to it. So I had to assert myself pretty early on. And I was, as I say, about 19 when I made my first record. So I
19.
had to learn quickly, or I would be, I won't say manipulated exactly, because they weren't doing it in a malicious way, obviously, but they had their ideas. And they
Right.
weren't necessarily the same as mine. So I was lucky with a few tracks on that first album, like Blades of Battenberg, which was very gothic. I had a church organ on it, played
Oh.
by a prog keyboard player who knew his classical music. So that worked very well, I thought, and a few other tracks, but the others were a mess. Because I had too many interests. I wanted, I
Okay.
heard this kind of folk music, and I wanted to play, an acoustic song like Flying Ace or Lon
Sure.
Chaney, or I
Oh.
heard a sort of garage rock from the 60s. And I wanted to do, we can't do all these things, because then nobody knows who you are. And in those days, just as now, people wanted to categorize you. And I thought that was a healthy thing, because,
You're right to a point.
yeah, people want to know, what is this? Is this punk? Is this post-punk? Is it, whatever it is, goth, which was just beginning at that time. And I hadn't realized that really. So I gave it a bit of a break, and I came back in the mid-80s with an album called Burnt Orchids, which was
Oh.
an acoustic mini album with a string quartet. And I
Whoa.
basically, by then, found my voice and my style. But I needed there was a 3-year break from it. I became
What
quite
was there?
disillusioned. I was managed by David Enthoven and June Boland. June Boland was the widow of Mark Boland.
Right.
David Enthoven was managing ELP, King Crimson, Roxy Music,
Okay.
but they couldn't get me a deal, and I'm not surprised. I think I've matured late in life. That's
Well,
why all these amazing, if I may say, or these interesting, I should say, projects have come up in the last 10 years or so, because, um, you know, I've become more mature. You said about getting older, but actually it's a maturity. There's a maturity in every aspect of your person and
sure.
your creative life. And you find yourself interested in, let's say, classical music, let's say
Oh,
foreign
yeah.
language films, not mainstream, and so on. So you grow up. And I've grown up very slowly and very late. So I had this enthusiastic, I can do anything nonsense at the beginning, but also I can't distinguish between what's good and bad at the beginning, to this
Right.
point, if you like, where I'm adapting, shall we say, novels for projects like Graham Greene's Brighton Rock is something I did a couple of years ago. I haven't put out yet, and the I'm talking very fast, by the way, in case you pick up.
Right.
This
I
is the way
understand
I
why.
normally talk. I hope you know. I'm a speed freak tonight. I better get it all in. So I'm finding all the. I did a Gothic ballet on Nosferatu, as you know, and other things. Oh yeah, and more literate songs, if you like, extended narrative songs, I call them. Where for 10 minutes you get these various sections, and they're telling the whole of a Lovecraft story, or
Incredible.
Montague Rhodes James, who's an English ghost story writer you might know of. So I'm doing all these more um, ambitious, you might say, project, but they're not something technically ambitious, but they require a commitment, and they require this love of this literature, these authors or these films or whatever it happens
Oh,
to be,
right.
and they require a lot of time, and I have to play all the instruments and everything. But I could never have done that when I was 19. So I'm a different person than I was, and I'm quite surprised that people still like that very early stuff as well.
Well, when you came out in 19 with, the Werewolf of London and stuff,
Hmm.
that you did something that nobody else was doing out there. I mean,
I
you
didn't
are,
know that, you see.
well, yeah, you're just chiseled out of stone that there's no stone out there like you. I mean, incredible. And then what is it, 88? I'm reading your bio or whatever. What Zappa has a little something to say about your music
Well,
and
that's the
stuff.
amazing thing. You see, I never heard that at the time. I didn't find that out until about 5 years ago, when I was invited to join this Italian label called Dark Companion. And they said, oh, we were working with Zappa. And by the way, we were writing for each other because the guy who owned the label was a journalist. And, he asked me, the guy, the Italian says to me, Zappa asked me, what are the new interesting artists going around at the moment? And this was the late 80s. And so this guy, Max, says, well, Paul Roland is one. And he played him my stuff. And Zappa says, what I've quoted is too intellectual for me, which is the funny thing,
Right.
because I said, that's what I feel about Zappa. I mean, I know he's amazing, but he's too intellectual for me. So we both said that about each other, which was incredible.
I'm thinking, if you twisted Zappa's mind, I mean, come on, that's real good, brother. Bravo,
I can tell
bravo.
you, I didn't sleep the whole of that night when he told me that. I
Yeah,
could. I mean, who could? What an amazing, incredible thing.
that is. And then down the road, and it wasn't too long ago, Rolling Stone had some good stuff to say about your album and stuff, calling it the best of the year.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I don't see these things at the time. Here I am in my dotage.
He's just doing
No,
his
my
thing.
maturity, sorry. And I'm only just finding out about these things. But I think that's not a bad thing, because, I wouldn't have been able to sit quietly and write these songs if I'd had all these expectations and things
You're
in my
already
head.
a star.
So I'm quite happy that it's taken this long to bubble up, to simmer.
Oh my goodness, Paul. Now you've got what, 20 plus albums under your belt?
Yeah, I think 25, and another 5 I'm sitting on at the moment.
Another 5 that you're saying. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, brother. So you're busy. Now, back then when you released stuff, now, were people picking it up? And I mean, that music is hard to get on the radio, but were movies or anybody like that wanting to sync it and put it in movies? Because
No,
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 really.
no opportunities. I was completely alone. I went from label to label, and some of them were better than others, but they were all small indies. There was New Rose in
Sure.
France. There was a Greek label, an Italian label, and so on. And Bam Caruso in UK had quite a standing and profile,
Mhm.
but it didn't work out with that guy. And people have told me, oh, you fell off the radar after that. What happened to you? But I was recording for New Rose. They were not an obscure label. They were quite a decent sized label. They had Roky Erickson and Reckless Eric and all sorts of people. So I was busy. I was even touring as an acoustic viewer at the time in France and Germany and places. So I thought, I'm moving up the escalator here, but it seems like that doesn't necessarily mean that people, are following you unless they're in that country reading those reviews or listening to the radio or at that concert. And that's a very surreal thing happening, to get your head around. So basically, I've tried not to think about the impact my music might or might not be happening. I get letters or emails or what have you from people who tell me their personal stories. I played it to my daughter. I taught your lyrics in my class. These sort of amazing things are what impress me. But there must be an invisible audience out there that I don't know about, and that doesn't matter. I just make the music to please myself and to enjoy playing with other musicians, because that is the fun of it. I mean, I've made a couple of solo albums where I've played everything, but it's much more fun playing with other people because, well, I'm a very sociable person, so I like to have fun. I like to have a laugh with people, and I like to trust them. They've been learning their instrument for all these years. They've been with other bands and everything, and I want to be receptive, open to their ideas. We within the limitation of my idea of how the song should be and what instrument should be on it, and I've been very fortunate in finding excellent musicians all the way along the line, and this is half the fun of it. This is why I keep going.
Well, right. Now, are you able to back now or even back then play out quite a bit with your music, or was it mostly just studio work and putting out albums?
Well, I think I did my first tour in about '86 with a German indie label called Pastel. That was the first tour I had, which was not exactly nerve-wracking, but there was just the two of us going out, myself and an electric viola player of all things. It was all in leather and everything. It was a real goth, so that gave us quite an image. There's me, the straight man, and here with the goth, and like Andrew Eldridge, and we played all these weird clubs in Germany and Belgium and Holland and God knows where else. And I really thought, people would throw things because this was pretty much post-punk. It was, I think, actually at the time, this Jesus and Mary chain were just happening. That was the time. So it was very much open to indie people, and you'd be on national radio in places like Germany, even if you were on an indie label. That was a very healthy thing. On the other hand, I thought, this is a '60s revival. How long is it going to last? I even said that to one of the. I went to somebody's. There were all these mods at one of my first gigs. I remember because I was playing with Direct Hits. They were a mod band, and I thought, this is going to be over this summer. Next they're not going to want to hear my stuff after that. And then I went to play with was it Opal? I think Opal, the American band. They were. I can't remember exactly what they were, an offshoot of Maisie Star. That's right. So they were the band after Maisie Star, and we did a little tour of Germany with them, which was very funny. I mustn't insult anybody by telling you any stories, but that was quite an eye opener for us. They kept firing all their personnel as the tour went on until they had absolutely nobody. Typical American band. Nothing's right, nothing's perfect. They got pretzels instead of peanuts or whatever she said. I remember.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was a great laugh.
I bet it was.
Because the English are very easygoing. They'll take anything. This is a brothel. Yeah, okay, we'll stay here. No problem.
We'll stay here. We're a pain in the ass, Americans.
We're easy. So that was a lot of fun. But God, I saw how uptight some of these people, what egos they had,
Oh,
we were just friends together on tour, having a bit of a laugh,
That's great. I've seen a lot of egos in my journey through this career. Oh my God! Oh, brother, my friend. Okay, now before we get any farther, can you tell people out there in podcast land where they can find your work, your music, everything about you?
Okay, well, my music is. I suppose the prime source would be an Italian label called Dark Companion and an English label called Blue Matter, which is Nick Salomon or Bevis Fron's UK label. And my first American release next month will be on Desert Vinyl, who are in Nevada. And despite their name, they're actually going to release it on CD as well. So
All
that's a big break for me. Desert Vinyl in America.
right.
So and my Bandcamp site is where I'd really like people to go, which is Paul-Roland bandcamp.com, so they can leave me messages. I'd love to get messages on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm active on Facebook several times a day, every day. I just need this connection. It's just fun to talk to people and share things. And it's no ego trip for me, I can tell you, because if I was selling thousands of records and all the rest of it, probably
Right.
would have an ego. But
Right. No,
I've been tamed by obscurity.
yeah, there you go. Good, my friend. Now, you sent me a couple of songs. I wish I could play them, but wow. One was Reanimator, and then the Great 88 Air Raids.
Yeah.
And tell me about Reanimator. Where'd
Well,
that come? Talk
about
to me.
1996, something like that. I can't remember exactly when. Yes, I think it was about then. I came back after quite a few years away from music, about 7 years, when I was bringing up my two young sons with my wife. And I'd got very disillusioned. A lot of the labels had closed down at that point. That was a low point. Late, where are we talking about? Late 90. Anyway, but about 92 to 97 or whatever. I can't remember. No, sorry, about 97 to 2005, something like that. There was a complete break from music, and I thought I was finished with it. And I thought I'd had a good run, and I just had to live with that fact, which was rather sad. But I had my children. I was writing a lot of books at the time, a lot of non-fiction books, and a lot of reviews for. Yeah, I wrote a lot of Mind, Body, Spirit books. Those
Nice.
books.
Cool.
Investigating the Unexplained was one of mine. Some Nazis in the Occult. All sorts of weird a true crime. I wrote 50 books, non-fiction books.
Wow.
In that period and the years after, because of the love of words. You see, it's the love of words. I just had to keep writing.
Incredible.
And so that was good. I think that also probably helped my storytelling. I was writing about true characters and true incidents, and always having an empathy for the characters. That was important. So not for the serial killers that I wrote about, but for the victims. So. I tried to evoke I wrote about Jack the Ripper, a book about Jack the Ripper. So anyway, going back to what you asked me, the Reanimator. So when I came back to music, I was looking for a different kind of level. I wanted something more substantial. So I looked to Lovecraft as an initial, because that was the most popular name you could have. And I turned some of his stories into songs. That was the basis of the Reanimator album. I think there were only about 3 or 4 songs that I did on his, based on his stories, and the rest were other related sort of themes. There was a Poe song in there, Valdemar, as well, I remember.
Okay.
But then I graduated to writing whole albums based on, a novelist's work.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one more song here, but your 25 albums plus that you're doing, was each album a full story? Each song, corresponds with the next song, or it was just
no. I was pretty much, until the point of Reanimator, I think I was just writing songs, and then after a period of, let's say, 3 weeks or what have you, it was always a regular sort of amount of time. I would feel, right, I've got enough now. I'll take the best of them, and we'll go into the studio with them, and we'd record all the ones that we've got. And that's why there was never really any extras left over, because I went in with 12 songs and I recorded 12 songs and released 12 songs.
Sure.
And I would then go back to writing books or whatever in between until the next, project. So every year or whatever it was, I would sit down and write for 3 weeks and come up with a batch of 12 songs. That's basically what happened. And but only later, more recently perhaps, different themes have struck me as being, interesting and stimulated the little grey cells. For example, the Gothic ballet. I wanted to do a dance drama or a ballet, so I asked the Italian label, because they had all these resources like a conservatoire there, and they were very willing to let me do anything with an orchestra or anything, which I thought was amazing. So I said, well, I'd love to write a ballet. Can you find a ballet company, or even just put some dancers together? And he said,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can do that. So then I went away and wrote a ballet, and recorded it. So I played all the
Wow.
instruments. So that opened up a whole new, um, a whole nest of
Yeah.
possibilities for me. If you like. In
Oh,
other
sure.
words, it was whatever you want to do, Paul. You do it. We'll make it happen. Well,
That's
that's
right.
an absolute gift for
That's
somebody who's as
incredible.
restlessly creative as me. But before that, it was pretty much just writing songs about stories or things that interested me. And
Sure.
I mean, there was no limit really. There was Poe, there was Lovecraft, there was M.R. James, as I said. So if you're not into reading, if you're into literature,
Oh,
you've got a
sure.
whole well of inspiration and material there. Um, if you're not an addicted reader, you're going to, I think, go round in circles quite a lot. I mean, that was my feeling. Or you would come up with these cliches, that we all know, and I thought that's just not very
Man.
grown up, or it's not very interesting. It's rather limited, but not things like cars and girls and whatnot. And
Right.
if you talk about horror, it tended to be a very cartoony sort of Addams Family kind of horror in rock. I mean, the adverts did Gary Gill's eyes. That was exceptional because it was based on a real, a real case, if you like. But and it was combined with a horror trope, if you like, which was this mad love film. The idea of something being grafted on the hand of a murderer being grafted on you. In that case,
Right.
in the song, it was the eyes. So that was quite rare. Most bands would turn out these cliched, rather trite horror things, And I
Sure.
thought, no, rock music can do a lot more than this. Now, obviously, it did a lot of prog stuff, but I wasn't into all that profound thing. I wanted
Oh, okay.
to combine sort of a prog attitude, but not necessarily musicianship, with deeper subjects, so that you could take rock music a bit further lyrically. Yeah, and then of course I came up with this narration, extended narrative format, if you like, which was to write songs adapted from stories, short stories usually, and they would have maybe 3 different segments in them, and you would tell
Okay.
the whole story in a very sympathetic to the writer style. So I would take great care when writing Reanimator, going back to the point of this long answer. I would read Reanimator, the short story by Lovecraft, many times, and I would get a feel for his language, and I would try to capture that. That was very important to me. I'd also take a few key phrases, which gave it that credibility, that authenticity. So you'd feel, hopefully, that you were in a way listening to Lovecraft
Lovecraft. There you go.
in a new setting. Yeah.
Right. I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Now, we got some time here. I want to ask you some personal questions. I guess some fun questions. All right. I want to know some
Right.
things here. All right. Now, one of them
Yeah,
would
sure.
be, since you're a horror buff like myself, who would be your favorite horror actor?
Actor. Well, I met Peter Cushing once, and he was a real gentleman. And
Oh,
I always feel that, oh yeah, he was. I don't know. He had such great. If he was playing in a really naff movie, he was always worth watching. He always took
yes,
it
he
very
was.
seriously. I think he actually told me that. That was the key to him.
Oh,
For
yeah.
him.
Him and Christopher
Um,
Lee were awesome.
yeah, Christopher. Well, I mean, there's so many on the hop a bit, but because I haven't given that much thought. But there are some great horror actors who weren't leading men. You got
No,
Niall McGuinness, who was in The Curse of the Demon, also known as Night of the Demon, I think, where you are.
right.
He was the sort of Crowley figure in that film. God, there's so many. I love Universal horror. I love Hammer horror, Amicus as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
The Ninth Gate actually is one of my
Oh,
favourite horror
Ninth
movies with
Gate.
Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the
definitely.
others, all these sort of things.
Okay.
But when we get to torture porn, you can count me out. I think it's a bit like road accident cinema. I don't want to
Yeah.
see the
No,
inside of people spilling out. That's not
right.
horror. That's just shock.
That's just crap.
So
Yeah.
anything that's got this dreamlike quality I think is beautiful in a dark way. That Morbid Beauty, as I call
Sure.
my recent album.
Sure.
It's the macabre is different from the morbid. So macabre
Oh yeah.
is this dream literature literature
Sure.
sort of quality, and creepy, uh, unsettling, but not sickening. Yeah, nauseating.
Right,
Yeah,
right on, right on.
that's
Oh,
how I distinguish the two.
okay, let's go to this question here. Now you performed all over and toured stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
is there any stage out there in the world you haven't performed on that you'd really like to perform on?
Well, America. I've never
Um,
been to America. I've never had a release in America. And my first album, the first um, album on Bang Caruso in '87 was distributed in America by Revolver USA, but that was not
okay.
really a release. So this coming one on Desert Vinyl, Morbid Beauty, is my first album over there, and that would be the ideal time to come over. But I think the what do you call it? The visa process is just so drawn out
Yeah,
that it's just impossible.
it is.
Um,
They do make it
and
hard.
it's unreliable. So even if I went through the whole process, there's no guaranteeing I'd be able to turn up on the night and actually play. But I mean, I
Right.
could cut. I have been invited to just come over as a tourist and pick up a guitar and play a few songs. I mean, I'd be more than happy to do that. And then if that got things going, we could come over more seriously. Maybe that's the way to do it.
True.
Taking it slow,
Hey,
taking it bit by bit.
well, we could
So San
try that.
Francisco actually is my key place, because that period
San
and those
Francisco.
bands are just
Uh,
it's just a magical place.
yeah. Well, now, since I hear a lot of different things in your music as far as influence and stuff like that, is there somebody out there, whether they're passed away or alive, that you really want to perform with on stage?
Um, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Well, Mark Bolan was my original initial hero, my musical hero and great influence. So yeah, I mean, ideally, but he's gone, so I'll have to wait till I go over the other side as well to play with him. I mean, there's so many that Jim Morrison, of course, but my
Huh?
music has got nothing to do with Jim, even though I wrote and recorded this song, "Dreaming of the Lizard King," on the new album about him. But that's really something in a head fantasy. It's not there's no really simpatico. I think
Right.
he was quite outrageous, and we wouldn't have got on very well. But I did record with Robin Hitchcock and
Oh,
Nick Salomon of Bevis Frond and Andy Ellison of John's Children. And I wrote songs for the Velvet Underground, the surviving members of the Velvet Underground back in the
oh, yeah.
in the '80s. So you know, and Michael Nyman, the film composer, he
Oh,
offered to. Yeah, he offered. He was my favorite. He is my favorite composer, living
yeah,
composer.
right
And
on,
but the
John.
sad thing, the sad thing. Here's another sad story. I'm afraid is I thought, what happens if he doesn't like my music? He offered to orchestrate a piece for me, and I thought, but if I send it to him and he doesn't like it, I'm going to be heartbroken. So
Right.
that was a stupid thing. Of course, now I would send it to him and I'd have every confidence. But back then I didn't. So I didn't take him up on his offer, and I've kicked myself in the head ever since.
That's Oh, that's funny. Now, when you perform in front of, I'm sure, large audiences and small audiences and this and that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Through all those performances, when you're in front of that microphone and you start performing, you look out and people are just in awe, loving what they're hearing, maybe singing your songs back to you, moving around. It's got to hit you in your heart, Paul. How does it make you feel, brother?
Well, there are different reactions, if you like. Of course, it's only my interpretation. I can't tell what they're really feeling. So sometimes it's not until the end you think, oh, well, that was okay, and then at the end they all stand up. I get a stand. And I've never had that before. That happened the last time I played with my
Oh,
Italian
wow.
band in Italy. So during the concert, I'm thinking, yeah, this is okay, but not as exciting as the last time, because that was the first time I had the electric guitar. It was all acoustic, and I was sitting down. That was the first time I was standing up, moving about, and I had an electric guitar. So that felt like a whole new experience. So that was the most exciting for me. That was exciting. But the next time, it was the same thing again, if you like, and I knew all the songs, so I didn't get such a kick out of it. But then at the end, they all stood up, and that was. I thought they were actually. I thought they were standing up to go home.
Go
That's what I
home.
thought. I thought, oh, I
I'm over
better get
it.
off the stage. Look, they're all getting up. But then I realised they were all getting up and not moving. I thought they were getting up to go home. So yeah, that was yeah. There's always new things. I think that's the point. When you play live, there's always something new to the experience, and either the sound is particularly good, and it wasn't last time, but the vibe was good the previous time. So
Right.
it's never the same. But I'm not really doing it for me. I'm really doing it because I'm all people who want to hear me and meet me. And of course, I love meeting. That's the thing for me, really, is meeting the people,
Yeah.
not playing the songs, because I know the songs.
True.
So I'm sure I love playing with my band, but that's in a studio when we're doing something new.
Right.
When it's all new to me and it's firing me up. There's nothing more exciting than being in a studio. I can tell you,
Oh
you've got a
yeah.
band of friends and you're all making music together, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And somebody comes up with a great riff, comes up with a particularly nice
Right.
ballad or something that uh,
Oh, the internet's breaking up just a little bit here. We are almost. You're cutting in and out, Paul. You're froze just a little bit.
the best.
There you are. All right. Well, we're getting close to the end of the show, Paul. I want to thank you for being on. I appreciate it, my friend. Still with me? If you can hear me, Paul, I can't hear you. Oh, I see you. I don't hear you. But Paul's with us right here. And we want to thank Paul for being on the show. This was a great show. And Paul's an interesting gentleman. Check out his music, all his music. Paul, I hope you can hear me, my friend. Can you? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, Paul. But if you want to log out and log back in real quick, we'll say goodbye to everybody on podcast land. If you can do it real quick, my friend. If you hear me, or else we're good. All right, I can end it right now and on a good note. It's up to you. What do you want me to do, Paul? This is Paul's show. It's not my show. I'm not going to end it unless Paul gives me the authority to end this show. So he just left. He's going to come back. But I want to thank everybody out there checking out the show today. Paul's a very interesting gentleman. I mean, check out the music. It's nothing like you've ever heard. It's a story. It's just not it's nothing you ever heard. And it should be in movies. I mean, if you've ever seen, it's like Pink Floyd and The Wall. Watch The Wall. That's Paul's music right there, wrapped right up, my friend. So he should be back, and we will end the show, wrap it up. But go check out Paul's music. It's great stuff. He's done a lot of great things with a lot of great artists. To have Frank Zappa have some comments towards him, and of course Rolling Stone saying he's got one of the best albums out there back in the day. Incredible, incredible stuff. So I appreciate Paul and everybody that's come on the podcast and the show and back in the day, the TV show and stuff. And boy, I wish we could do live performances like we did back in the TV studio where the band set up and it got crazy. And when the lights weren't LEDs, we sweated so bad. We walked out drenched like we took a bath. Oh my goodness. Don't miss the studio lights. Don't miss the studio lights. Paul should be back. I hope I don't have to talk for the next half hour because I don't have a half hour. I got a few more minutes. Come on back, Paul. Let's do this, brother. Let's come on. So you want to be on the show, or maybe you want to co-host with me. I never thought of that. I used to have co-hosts back in the day on the TV show. You want to co-host with me? You sit with me with these artists and ask them a few questions. Hit me up. The email's right down below, scrolling right there, nocovertv@usa.com. So join me. If you would like to sit right here next to me and these artists, we can bounce questions off each other and stuff. So, yeah, definitely. So, if you want to be a host, that's something we can do. Something we can do. So, let's see. Where are you, Paul? You come back, my friend? Come on, yeah, come on. Push the magic button. Na, 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 na. I better not sing. That's not a good thing. You'll all leave. You'll all just never look back. Hit the subscribe button. It's right up there top here on YouTube. Here, hit the subscribe button. That helps out. And maybe someday I can make $1 off the show. Nah, that's not what it's about. Yeah. What's that? We don't need that stuff. So, anyways, we are going to wrap this up. I want to thank Paul. Go check out him. I was on Spotify checking out his music. It's a lot of stuff. Check out his well, he did Alice in Wonderland thing. Oh, you want to be probably in a quiet space, and you might want to wear a straitjacket when you listen to that. Oh my God! But great stuff that Paul puts together. Is he going to come back? Because we're going to have to end this in just a second. Not sure if Paul's coming back, but Paul, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you don't come back on, I want you back on in 6 months to a year, see what's going on. Because incredible, brother. Incredible stuff. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to each one of you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the No Cover TV podcast. I'm going to have to get out of here because if I don't, it's just going to shut down and I'm going to look like a freaking idiot. And I'm not used to that one, right? So on that note, I don't see Paul coming back. We're going to end this show. Thank you again to everybody out there. And Paul Roland, please check him out. And please check out this show's coming up. We got a lot of great artists from all over the country and world, I should say, for that matter. All genres. You just don't know what's coming on. You just never know what's going to happen. Like today, technical difficulties. Shit happens. All right, everybody. This is Big Al. I'm out of here. Till the next show. Peace. All right.